That deal.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Lake Clark Shores Town Council meeting, March 12th, 2024. Pastor Stan, come up and I wanted to bring you up just first because you and I have spoken many times about this kind of thing. We have a person relatively young who's passed away, who's part of this Lake Clark Shores family, part of the police department. So I wanted you to come up here. We're all going to rise and have a moment of silence. It's Joe and I were just talking. You have to count all your blessings. You just, everything is in the good Lord's hand and you just never know, as you and I have had many conversations. So we could all stand for a moment. We will after. We'll get roll call afterwards. Okay, Mary? I just had saw this. This is important stuff. But we are going to have a moment of silence. And this is for Dana's father, Ron Shack, who was 64 years young. That's a young man these days. Dana, my deepest condolences. May his memory be eternal for you. I know this is a very difficult time. So we also want to honor Carol Ann Foster, who passed on 1/21/2024. She was only 70 years old, and she's a retired city clerk for the city of Lake Mary. So we could have a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, Pastor, you are the chaplain for the police department, so I wanted to have this opportunity to tell you, this is for Dana's father. Okay, so the floor is yours.
Let us look to the Lord. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. He founded it upon the seas. He established it upon the waters. Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place? The one who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not trust in an idol or swear by a false god. They will receive blessing from the Lord. Heavenly Father, indeed, there are times when we need you more than we feel like others. Those times when grief is heavy upon our hearts, we recognize, Father, that you are our comfort. You shall be our peace. Father, in these moments, may you lift us up, give us strength when we are weak. Father, today, this very day, we would pray that you would guide, you would lead, and you would bless us. Meet us right where we are. Inspire us, encourage us, challenge us, change us, that we might be more the people that you desire us to be, to love and care for one another. We come before you in thy precious and most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance, Pastor.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate your sensitivity that people are much more important than agendas.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Okay, Mary, now we can do roll call.
Mayor Gregory Freebold.
Here.
Councilmember John Maples.
Here.
Councilmember Bridget Keating.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor Materio.
Here.
Councilmember Christy Mashbaugh.
Here.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're going to start with council comments. Tim Daughtry has filled out a card. Tim, come on up. You're front and center.
Tim Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road. I have concerns about how we have filled these vacancies the last couple of months. Previously, when we've had vacancies on the council, we've gone through a process. This is not to criticize either one of you members of the town council. I welcome you to this council and hope you do a great job. And this is not a criticism about you all. But in previous years when we've had vacancies on the council, we've gone through a process where we have let people in town know that we have vacancies. People have come and submitted resumes. They've come before the town council and they've been questioned by the town council in an open meeting, in an open forum. Questions were given to those people to find out how well they were versed in issues that were going to be presented to the council and had been for the council in the past, and how they would deal with those types of issues going forward. In this situation, the last 2 times we've done it, I haven't seen that process happen. And it concerns me that we are filling these vacancies rather haphazardly rather than formally. Okay. And I wish there would be a formal process to handle those types of issues. I apologize for that. And that's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other audience comments? No other audience comments at this time? Okay. We're going to move forward. I can have a motion for approval of agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Motion for consent.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries. Okay, that brings us to presentations. We have our friends here from Palm Beach County Commission on Ethics. Rhonda Geiger, your general counsel, please come forward. Nice to see you.
Hello again.
Hello.
Thank you again for having me, Rhonda
Yes.
Geiger with the Palm Beach County Commission on Ethics. Just here at my annual visit to remind everybody that the commission is here for everybody, including the general public. We just really feel strongly that the more faith people have in their local governments, the stronger our society is as a whole. You know, statistic after statistic shows that when people lose faith locally, they lose faith nationally, and people stop participating, and things just tend to not work as well as when people are involved and feel like they have a say in the democratic process. So we're here to foster good behavior. We're definitely here to answer any questions anybody has with respect to things you can do, things you can't do, gifts you can accept, gift reports, gift forms, anything like that. We want to be a proactive agency. I mean, we will be reactive if we have to be, but we would much prefer to be proactive. So please just remember that we're here. I've dropped off a few things, my business card's in there. There are a couple other little things, but thank you for having me. And please remember that we're here if anybody needs us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yes, I have a few questions. We have 3 new council members here. And I just want to make sure, because as you said, the ethics training is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a little time consuming, but actually last year was in October was pretty good. So just for their benefit, the council up here, the county, which holds theirs typically the same time of year, we did it in Lake Worth this year. That's the one that's mandatory for the board members for all municipalities.
There's 2 separate ones you'll have to.
All right,
I'm
The-
pretty sure I
the-
did one here.
Yes, you did.
you did.
So that was the local one. That was the county one.
Right.
The other one typically doesn't cross over. You'll have to do them both. And I'm
Okay.
happy to come do, we really are trying to, I don't want to say push the live training, but we're really trying to encourage people to schedule a live training. I'm happy to come out and do those. We find that they are people get so much more out of it. They understand, they come through it with so much more with such a greater understanding of the code and the nuances and the applications, as opposed to watching a video where you can't ask a question if you have one. So please do reach out. I'm happy to.
And they can go online as
You
well.
can go online.
And it is
there,
accredited.
and that will satisfy the requirement, but I am also happy to come out if you guys have new employees or.
And I was just going to say, just so they know, employees are subject to this also.
Correct. So it can be the new council members. I'll come out and do it for a very small group, or you can compile it with new employees, or if people need to, I think I was just here last year, so probably your training cycle's not quite up.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I know the League of Cities always has one at their annual conference also, which was going to be my next question.
That's the state.
That's going to be the state, not the county.
Correct.
It's encouraged to do both, correct?
You must.
It's required.
Compulsory.
Well, and when I say encourage, that means don't get in trouble by not doing it. Because they are time consuming.
Sure.
We typically, I've been, participating with the League of Cities for a good 15 years now. So we do them when we're in the conference, which these are usually, they're very good. They're informative. You might think that in a little town like Lake Clark Shores, there's not or couldn't be an issue, but you just never know when you hear some of the things and that go on in the smaller communities like, oh, okay, I can see where that would,
Well, I mean, and I think sometimes it's easier it's easier to go awry in littler cities because you forget that it's, there's small areas that you might be impacted.
Right.
It might be a small enough vote that impacts you where you shouldn't be voting, which is easier to go wrong in a small area because it is so small. So they are important for a variety of reasons. I mean, they are, as I said, they are compulsory anyway. But if you do go through the live training, I really feel like people come out of it with a hands-on sort of approach to how to tackle the code of ethics, a better understanding of it, I guess, how it applies to you in your day-to-day life, whether or not you can accept a cup of coffee or whether or not you can go to, a football game or,
Right.
Can you do that? May you accept that gift? So we're happy to do that and give you those examples and send everybody away, I think, with a better understanding and more confidence as to how to proceed and maintain the integrity of the code of ethics while you're in office.
Good. Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I would take advantage of a live training.
Yeah. Well, they set it up every year. You do the live training here for the.
We'll give you all the options. If you can't make the live training, then you go to.
Well, and I mean, I'll do it for a small group. It doesn't, if just the new council members want to get together, I'm happy to come out for a small group. That's fine too.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That'll do it.
All right.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening. Thank you for coming here. Okay, so we have no quasi judicial proceedings, no public hearing, no unfinished business. We'll go on to new business and approval to declare the following miscellaneous items as surplus and allowing these items to be sold or disposed of. We have rebar, metal pipes, fittings, PVC pipes, metal signs, batteries, ice machine. How much are they selling the ice machine for? Which one? Chief, you're not selling yours, are you?
No.
No, that's like gold. We're coming into it. Does the water and ice dispenser work on the side
Yes.
of the PD?
Yes.
It does work?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's just been serviced too.
When did it just get serviced?
We always service before the barbecue.
Before the barbecue?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I knew it was there. I didn't know if it was still operational or not. Yeah, I see people using it. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, for sure. So staff recommends that we consider a motion to declare these items as surplus. Do I have a motion?
What's the market value for a broken killer bridge, killer gate?
I can tell you what they cost. They cost $1,000 each.
That could be something, for memorabilia sake. You never know. In 50 years, it might be worth, how much did you say, $1,000?
They're $1,000 each, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, if we don't find a market for these things, we scrap them in the scrap metal. And we get thousands for that in scrap metal. But
Did we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
And before we,
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, can we maybe discuss, maybe have Joe add that to the maybe discussions to talk about maybe replacing that or look at maybe a replacement option instead of that $1,000 Keller gate that's looks like once a month. Or I don't know just get some information on how often we're replacing that for $1,000.
How,
And
sorry.
maybe, just one more thought, maybe if we take that gate out of there, maybe a traffic table as a replacement or something to kind of, because obviously it's there for a traffic calming measure. So we don't want to completely remove that. But maybe looking at, if there's a way that we can save $12,000, that'd be fantastic.
Isn't that part of, for some of the cases, like I remember when we did code board, they are actually in some cases fined
yes,
for the,
That was going to
like,
be my
it's not
question.
always a loss.
So how
the gate.
good are we doing on collecting monies from people who damaged?
it's a loss.
It's a loss.
Okay.
So it is a lot.
Do the cameras pick that vehicle up either way going in or out?
Yes, we can. Now, the LPR is the newest system reading the tags, so we read and count everything coming in. The other cameras do a pretty good job, but we're ready to work on some new technology there. But the manager and I have been talking about this. You also have the information from the traffic engineer.
Right, I
So,
saw that.
you can accomplish probably the exact same thing by taking it out and putting some type of a speed hump type process in there. And we talked about that. So I don't know if we want to talk about it tonight. It's up to you all if you want to talk. But the manager and I, we've been discussing it, and we're kind of in the middle of a lot of stuff right now,
Sure.
with barbecue and stuff. So something we may want to talk about.
Yeah, we can put it back on the agenda and talk. I was just curious, Charlie, what are our legal remedies, or is it sometimes the malfunction of the gate
Well,
fault also?
sometimes they malfunction. Sometimes people get impatient and run through them. Or if it's a truck that has lawn equipment and
Right,
they're going slow, and sometimes the gate can come down on top of it.
right.
But what the manager and I talked about is we could do a test period and take the gates down, but leave the infrastructure there and monitor it and see how it's working and stuff. But
In terms of calming traffic,
Or just to
Well,
see what kind of complaints we
traffic's-
get.
right?
the traffic is going to have to slow down for the speed humps that are there anyway.
Even though the study showed that there's really not a speeding issue in here, people are still calling me,
No.
telling me people are
That
speeding
was,
through here.
that was set up to kind of deter people from cutting through.
Right, yeah, no, I remember. So Charlie, do we have, when it is their fault, is there a problem collecting, or how do we, just look at that
It's a
also?
code violation. So
Yeah. It is a code violation, and many of them come to the code board. I don't know what the collection
It's
rate has been.
if they're not a resident.
Yeah.
Was it more Lake Clark Shores residents or?
Well,
A lot of people working in the town, from what I remember when I was on the code board. Sorry to interrupt you, Joe, but it was a lot of people coming in and visiting and not recognizing that the gate comes down after each car, or just
Right.
kind of ignoring that,
Yeah.
or workers that were coming.
Originally, the town closed the road
correct.
and did away with the access because of problems of cut-through traffic. The city of Lake Worth Beach sued us, and the gate was a settlement option between the town and the city. And that's how the gate came to be. Rather than continue the litigation, we chose to settle it with the option of that gate. And it's been there now for many, many years.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, we can address that down the road, but so we do have a motion to accept this and consider. Huh? Yeah, what do you got?
It's broken right now.
Yep.
And,
Tim, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Thank you.
Tim Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road. So I'm 3 houses away from the gate.
Mhm.
Okay. It's been broken twice in the last 4 days. Each time I've had to go to the gate and release it because of the way it's hanging. It could cause damage to cars.
Right.
And right now, and it's usually the outbound gate that we're having the most problems with, okay? Not the inbound gate. Although tonight, the inbound gate is hanging half off right now, which could easily hurt a car as anybody comes through. And I call Damon all the time, and they attend to it fairly quickly, but it doesn't get handled really quickly from time to time. And like I said, I'm going to release it and keep it from damaging cars from time to time because it's just hanging on by a thread and things like that. So it is an issue. Okay.
Okay.
And you said the traffic study is showing no problems with speeding. I can assure you that there's speeding on Keller Road. And
Well, that's not my study, Tim. That's their study. And that's what they said. I understand. I'm just telling you, that's what the conclusion of the study was.
Okay.
I know.
And all you got to do is bruise, know that people are speeding down that road, okay? It does happen all the time, okay? And it continues to happen, it continues to happen, it continues to happen. John and I have talked about it too. I think you got to get rid of it because it's too much trouble to maintain it proper thing. With proper speed tables, okay, both on Keller and on South Lake, okay, I think that you accomplish the same result. I do. It's just too, it's a problem.
Okay,
There's problems with it every single week.
okay,
Okay.
very good.
Mr. Mayor, I'd second the motion that's on the table for
Okay,
the,
all in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0.
and can we add, Mr. Mayor's point in order, add the Keller Road gate to the discussion or agenda for next meeting?
Staff has no problem with that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we're going to move on to status reports. Fire Chief, Craig, you want to come up and talk to us? Nice to see you again this evening. Thank you for coming.
Evening. For the month of February, 13 total incidents. 20 total incidents. 13 of them were medical or EMS type calls, 4 motor vehicle accidents, 2 fire alarms, and 1 public assist, which was somebody calling in a non-emergency situation looking for some help or guidance, and the crew went over there and assisted that person. Average turnout times were 47 seconds for our dispatchers. Turnout for the crews, meaning the time they get the alert till the time they're in the truck, is 42 seconds. Our travel time was 6 minutes and 4 seconds for a total overall response of 7 minutes and 33 seconds on average for the incidents.
Chief, what is your target for the times? What?
There are 2 things that drive us. One is we're guided through the NFPA through a set of standards. And then we also are on board with the ISO, which is an insurance rating. And those averages look at anywhere from 6 minutes and 30 seconds to 8 minutes. So we're right on the average. That falls into where our station planning is in an area like this where the population is very saturated. But if you get out west in the rural areas, that 7:30 to 8 minutes it's a stretch, and it just comes along with living in a distance or in a remote area like that.
Okay, any other questions for the Chief? No?
Okay.
Thank you.
A couple things with
Yeah.
fire rescue. I am not a social media type person, but we do have a great team that handles all our media stuff. We do have several things on social media. They are posted. 20 calls in this area doesn't seem like a lot, but in the overall county, there is a number of things going on. So there was a lot of great things. Most recently, 2 things that brought a lot of light. You stated at the start the sorrow of losing someone, especially as an age that appears in today's day and time of being very young. A crew just outside of your response zone ran on a 54-year-old female who went into sudden cardiac arrest. There was a lot of commotion on the scene, a lot of noise in the background. So the dispatchers could not get the information, so they send law enforcement first. So the crews have to wait for law enforcement, and during that time, this woman is in cardiac arrest. They had to wait for a help with the language line to get an interpreter. But the sheriff's department went in, the deputy started CPR immediately, and then they couldn't raise her because of her actions, and she didn't stop. So our crew went in right behind her to make sure she was okay, and the woman walked out of the hospital 3 days later at 54 years old. So we did a great little story on that. They get a resuscitation award. We do a reunification with the survivor. They come out, we meet their family, and it's just a terrific story. And that's been happening more and more and more, which is the advances in everything. But that early CPR and that continuous CPR is huge. It plays into that link of survival. So that was a great story. And those are coming up on our social media more and more. So if you have to notice or look at those things, they're great things to do. My daughter knows more about what the rest of my fire department who lives in Jacksonville because she's always on that sort of stuff, but great. And we did have one other story, which is very personal. About 2 weeks ago, we hit our 10-year anniversary in which we teamed up with the University of Miami Sylvester and started what was called the Fire Cancer Initiative. They had come out to evaluate Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. We do have a couple employees who were professors and scientists over there that are our firefighters. And their other professor type people saw a group of 1,800 firefighters that they could do all sorts of tests on, and we agreed to that. And since then, through their workings with us and through collaboration of the Fire Cancer Initiative and the Florida Firefighter Safety Collaboration, a team was combined, which is called FACE. And FACE stands for Firefighters Attacking the Cancer Epidemic. And we call it an epidemic because that is the leading cause of death among firefighters currently. And I say it's personal because in 2017, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic cancer. I was out of work for 11 months with a number of surgeries, treatment, radiation, rehab, and recovery. And then a short 16 months later, I went through all over again for another 7 months.
Lord.
But I'm a survivor right now. I'm hopeful. But the reality is it's a big to-do right now in the profession of firefighters. And the reality to that is when this table or a chair or something burns, it's no longer a piece of wood or a piece of cloth. There are a number of synthetics that release certain byproducts and carcinogens that stick to us. What we learned through our research with is we were very poor at taking care of ourselves. We were bringing that stuff home to our fire stations. We were bringing it home to our families. And we've learned just through the simple process of deconning ourselves on a fire scene and then getting back and immediately showering, cleaning our gear. Through the research they've done with us, we've changed the way we build fire stations, the way we purchase our apparatus, the stuff we avoid now bringing home to our families. So it's a change in culture, and it takes time, but the 10 years have passed very quickly, and the benefits that have come from that has been amazing. And again, there was a great story on that. And like I said, it's personal to me. So it's good to see that we are changing that. For me, after 36 years, it is what it is. I have no regrets, but you know, we've all grown up where the day and age of, say, the Marlboro Man, who was that tough, rugged guy smoking a cigarette. But we learned that's not the right thing. And years ago, it was the dirtier you looked as a fireman, the more soot you had on yourself, the better you were. When we're learning that's not the case, and we're getting better at it. So that's our hope.
Good.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
God bless you,
comments?
and thank you for being proactive.
Yes, thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Chief.
All right. Have a
God
good
bless
evening.
you. Thank you, Chief.
All right, Chief Smith, move on to you.
One thing I want to mention with Palm Beach County Fire Department is every one of our police cars has a defibrillator. So, which a lot of the larger departments, it's kind of hard to have that technology because of the expense, but we have it here. Last month, we responded to 417 calls for service. Excuse me. We assisted Palm Springs on 10 calls for service, domestics, robbery, that type of stuff. The Marine unit was out. There were 2 arrests. Generally, we average between 8 or 9 or a dozen arrests a month, but we had 2. One was on a warrant for failure to appear. The other one was possession of cocaine and possession of cocaine by a child care facility within 1,000 feet. Both those individuals were booked in the county jail. The officers completed 195 traffic stops for the month. They wrote 100 citations. 31 of those were criminal violations. There were 14 vehicle crashes, 2 hit and run. The flock camera system ran 120,008 tags through the 7 camera system. Also broke down the LPR camera system database for Keller Road coming into town, and that's at 17,509. As I told you last month, we had a hit on a terrace that's on a watch list that came through. I think not more than 4 hours ago, we just had a hit on a car that was stolen at gunpoint that came through on Pine Tree. So there's a good database for us to follow up and check these things out. Code enforcement, 51 new violations issued. 8 of the hearing were notified for hearing, half 50% coming to compliance. Our operational it's confidential, but we have to do a security plan, which is shared, will be shared with the fire rescue because they're part of it, and the county fusion center. And the manager's got a copy and my staff has a copy, and then we'll share it on the day of the event on information on what's going on, the threat levels and different things. But right now we're in good shape. We don't see any issues or problems. Our new body cameras with the new technology came in. We got them up and running and they're being used. It's the latest technology, the newest technology. Now we're waiting for the updated technology on the tasers that will interact. And also anytime an officer pulls a weapon, taser, or something happens, all the different camera systems can, through artificial intelligence, will activate and record the information. And that's it. Two of the officers, it will be Manick, who's here, also the assistant chief. I had a letter which is attached to my report that all of you have, that the National Society of Sons of the American Revolution Award are going to present an award to both the officers. So I've been invited. It's a nice event where they recommend, and it's a non-political event. Let you know that. Any questions?
Any questions for the chief?
Chief, you mentioned that Palm Springs, that you assisted Palm Springs 10 times. How often on an average month do they assist you?
Probably just as much or more. And a lot of times if we're doing training, the chief will send officers to cover the city while we do our training. So we have a good working relationship. They do our dispatching force, which has saved the city over $1 million since I incorporated that. So we have a good rapport with them. They assist us. They'll be assisting us and on backup on calls and logistics when we have our barbecue. So we have a good rapport with them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for the chief?
I do. Chief, thanks for taking the call today and talking about that forfeiture money that's being spent for the anti-bullying and some of those costs and expenses that money is going towards and how the forfeiture works and some of the laws in the state of Florida. So I really appreciate that information. So I wanted to ask you, so our guys right now wearing the cameras and they're fully operational and our guys are rolling?
Right.
That's awesome.
New cameras are on.
That's awesome.
They're ready to go.
That's great. That's great, Chief. Thank you for doing that.
Chief, I think we were the first department to have them also,
I'm
correct?
sorry, what?
Weren't we the first department back a while, I don't know how many years ago, we were the first department to have our
We
officers
were
have.
3 years ahead of everybody else. And I didn't take any recognition. Council kind of wanted some recognition, but it
Well,
wouldn't.
they're not here
fair.
anymore,
Wouldn't
so
have
you
been
can
fair.
recognize.
Politically, for me, it wouldn't have been fair for the other chiefs because what cost us at that time, 100,000, cost millions for the other
Right.
cities. And the
Good vision.
technology is phenomenal, but all the money involvement is all the database, collecting it and just disseminating
Storage.
it through public records
Sure.
checks and stuff.
Sure. Oh, okay.
Mr. Maples mentioned the forfeiture money, as did you when I was visiting with
Yeah.
you the other day. How much forfeiture money do you get in an average year?
Well, it varies. Some years maybe very little, couple of grand that we seize. Now we just seized, and I can't talk too much about it, but I over $2 million in cash involving some Chinese people that were here inappropriately, which is good for us because it's cash and they're here illegally, and it was a gambling operation. So
Right here in River City?
not just outside our city,
Okay.
but the officer that donates his time to me, that's an attorney for a corporate, is on the organized crime narcotics unit, and he donates his time. He did the search warrants to seize the money at the banks. So probably 3 or 4 months down the road, we'll probably have some assets from that, and it should be pretty good. The Chinese are generally involved. The main thing is it's organized crime and it's gambling and then it's narcotics. So
Well, thank you for adding to the coffers.
my pleasure.
Very good.
Yes.
Charlie?
My report is included in your packet. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Charlie regarding his report? Talk to us a little bit about the home occupation. Wasn't there something up there at the state level a year or two ago regarding that and the types of occupations that people could have?
Yes, the
I
state.
know it's still in review and everything. I just,
The state has mandated that we cannot prohibit home occupations, but the photo studio we determined was not a home occupation as defined in the statute. It was more a third party coming in and using the home rather than the homeowner
Right.
using the home as a home occupation. But yes, the state has preempted a lot of our ability to regulate home occupations as they have preempted the regulation of
Vacation rentals.
vacation rentals, Airbnbs, et cetera.
okay. All right. Is that all? Nothing else for Charlie? All right, Mr. Lobello.
Thank you. For our upcoming meetings, we're going to the regular schedule for the next 2 months, which is our second Tuesday, April 9th and the 14th. Upcoming events, we have a lot. We have the movie night this Friday night. It's Elemental. I heard it's a very funny movie, so come out for that. It's right here under the tents. Then we have our barbecue with our St. Patty's theme on Sunday from 11:30 to 2:30. Everybody's invited. We actually have the regular pork and chicken, but we also have corned beef and all kinds of good food. So come out. It's a great event. Election day is next Tuesday right here in this chamber. We have our senior meeting on the next day on the 20th. We have the fishing tournament on April 6th. How's that going with the registration? I heard it's going good, right?
We're looking pretty good, gentlemen. You talking us up out there? Yeah, I'm looking at you two. These guys have been fishing the tournament for 15 years.
We're doing good? Good.
All right, they'll be there. They'll be there.
Then we have also on the 20th of April, we have the Great American Cleanup, which is, I went to that last year, really good event. We clean our parks, we clean our lakes. It was a whole lot of garbage that we collected that day. An update on Palm Springs unfortunate sewage spill. We just got an update today. They are still doing what they can. They installed 3 aerators on the L9 canal. They are picking up any debris or any dead fish that's pretty much they don't see any anymore. So the testing has improved on a daily basis. They test on a daily basis. They have not tested efficiently to say that we're all in the all clear. So we still have an advisory not to swim and not to fish in that area. But again, we're hoping for good news with rainy season coming and with the discharge of the Okeechobee, that's all helped. So all the numbers have improved. Pine Tree Bridge, I'll give you a little history. We went out to bid on this last October. It came out at $3.2 million and only one bidder. So we recommended to the council that we redesign the actual RFP and go out to bid again to make it more contractor friendly. What we're doing is, unfortunately, if the council approves this project, the road will be closed from the bridge to Forest Hill Boulevard for the duration of the contract, which would be shorter because the contract will have the road closed. So we went out to bid with that, making it more contractor friendly. We got good news. It went down $700,000 and change. We had the bid opening last week. It was $2.4 million, approximately $2.4 million. So we're evaluating the 2 bidders and we'll put that on the agenda for April with a recommendation. Just so you know, we do have $600,000 from the state from appropriations that was already granted. And the session finished at the state, and we did get approval for $250,000 more. It's not a done deal. because the governor can veto any line item. So, and he
But it
does.
did make it through.
It did make it, it passed. So good news. So $850,000 should be paid by the state of that $2.4 million if you approve that project. On
Can I
the,
ask a quick question
Of
while you're
course.
on that?
yes,
When you say if we approve that project, that bridge has been deemed by the Department of Transportation as obsolete, correct?
yes.
So do we have options there? Or-
Yeah, I'm gonna have the engineers here next week to explain all that to you because
Next week or next?
next month. So because those good questions should be answered by an engineer.
Sure. Okay.
The sponsors for the picnic, we did really well. We collected over $17,000 for sponsors. We'll have them all on billboard, all on outside with all kinds of displays of thanking them. But we collected over $17,000 for the barbecue. Without that support, I don't know how we would do the barbecue. We told you about the water meter change out project. That's going well. It started last week. And it's going to last for at least 2 months. We're changing out 1,500 meters. If they come to your house, they should have the right credentials and they'll knock on your door and say, we're going to change out your water meter. It'll take about 15 minutes. But just letting you know that that's happening throughout the whole town. And thanking everybody for the pickleball ribbon cutting on the last month. We had a ribbon cutting and it was a good celebration. It's a beautiful park. So we're going to talk about the park in our next agenda on the CRA meeting. So that's all my comments. Any questions?
Any questions?
Is there any systematic approach that they're doing the water meters?
Yes, they have a plan. I met with the contractor today. They have a plan to change them all out.
I mean, do we know, like, they're going street by street, they're gonna go east side, west side, do we know?
We're not involved. The contractor is doing it. We contracted them out. We basically, remember, it was a negotiation that we didn't want to handle it. They're handling it. So yes, they're going door by door
Okay, I just was curious.
where they're at.
Where they're gonna go where, and, you know, when you look for them.
It's not being run by the town.
Okay.
Will the water be turned off during that 15-minute
Yeah, it has to be.
change out?
Yes, it has to be. That's, if they see the water running and they knock on the door and nobody answers, they will just come back. But if they see the water not running and they knock on the door, they'll change it out.
Any other questions?
I would like to commend Joe for the great job he did in sending out several updates to the residents on this spill, because we know that everybody's hard at work on it, but it's really nice to get an update to know about the aerators and I've drove by there today. There's a literal fire hose of water coming out of a fire hydrant, still pushing everything out. So thank you so much for keeping everybody apprised of everything that Palm Springs and that you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you. And Palm Springs, I've talked to the council members, I've talked to the managers, the people in the utilities department. They really are, they apologize for the mishap.
Well, we'll get some forfeiture money.
It is a utility thing. We could do that with the forfeiture and utilities. There's water there.
That's out of my.
Yeah,
That's an inside joke we have about utilities. So, all right, everybody's.
Oh, one more question.
Yeah, sure.
As long as we're going to bring up the Pine Tree Bridge at the next meeting, I drove around the lake today just to check the smells from the sewage, and it's 95% better than it
Yes.
was
On the
beforehand.
street or in the water?
What's that?
Everywhere.
On the street or,
Yes.
no, you rode around on the street or you rode around?
No, on the street. I drove.
All right.
And one thing I noticed, I was going 19 miles an hour and my car bottomed out on the speed bump as opposed to the speed tables that we discussed several sessions ago. When that bridge is closed and everybody has to be driving around the lake, I wonder if we could discuss converting the bumps into tables.
We can discuss that. Sure. We're going to recommend taking the gates off Keller Gate. That's one.
Well,
That would be one of the things.
From the study, they recommended tables over bumps if I
Right.
have the
Yeah, and
verbiage correctly.
Public safety likes them better too.
Yeah.
I mean, bottoming out at 19 miles an hour doesn't seem to make sense.
No. Yeah, let me know which one that was. I'll go take a look at it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Good, okay, good. We'll move on to status reports. Christie, you're first.
I would just like to
I
thank,
mean, these are council comments,
Council
excuse me.
comments.
yeah. I would like to thank Joe and Emily and Mary for getting me all set up this month and giving me updates, what's going on. And I would particularly like to thank the chief for a very informative session to hear all the incredible ways that he's keeping us safe.
I really just want to say condolences and prayers to you, Dana, and your family. I'm really so sorry for your loss.
Condolences as well, Dana. And I'm almost your father's age, so that really hits me too. I want to thank Joe and the staff for keeping me apprised of everything that's going on. He's got great communications, and we're doing ongoing things to keep trying to stay with status reports and what we can do to make small improvements with little cost.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, thanks everyone for coming, and just a couple of things. David, our guard, I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, Agard
Yes.
has sent an email to our commissioner, Michael Barnett, about if you've noticed the on and off ramp of 95 when they cut the trees down, the trash that's accumulating there. So just know we're working on that. It is a county problem. It's not a town issue, but we've got residents that are not really that thrilled about all the trash and the homeless people and the drugs and all the things that are happening in that space. So they have been made aware, and ultimately emails have been sent. So if you are also concerned, you could email your county commissioner. There has been a ticket open, and there's people assigned to it, and they're definitely aware, and there's definitely some movement on it, but it never hurts to encourage that cleanup. So just so you know, if you notice that trash, it is something that has been made aware to the people who are supposed to take care of it. So
He did a great job.
Hopefully they'll get to finishing that project. I would like to add for the agenda the charrette for May, April, May, to have that charrette and have a team together to be able to, and the charrette is about the septic to sewer, and it's truly just educational. And we're thinking a Zoom that's going to have some set questions, and we're going to have some Q&A with the folks who are scheduled to speak, and getting the questions in enough time to be able to present those so that everyone feels educated and get all the information on that. So hopefully we'll love to have that added to the having that charrette in May of this year. And so I don't know how we need to go about that. Is that a vote, or is that a?
Well, I think it's a discussion item because there's pros and cons to having it before or after we hear from the state on the DEP grant.
Okay.
So I think you make it a discussion item first, and then you guys give me a consensus,
Okay.
because there is pros and cons to that.
Okay. So if we can we make that a discussion item for April?
You can make it, it's up to you three to guide me.
Discussion item for educational charrette in April?
The DEP grant money, that's sometime over the summer.
We believe so. I asked
That's
for
an
another.
important part of all of this, right?
I believe
That
it is.
information?
I believe it is. Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think it's always valuable for us to have a discussion about it.
Absolutely. Okay, go ahead and put it on agenda for next month.
Next month or May, he said.
You said April for discussion.
Oh, the discussion. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that way we can all discuss it, and then if it's something that the council feels like we want to continue for May, then we can vote on it and move forward from there, but at least have it for discussion for the next meeting in April. Open dialogue.
Good idea.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then Dana, kind of second everyone. I'm sorry for your loss of your family. I know that's a tough one. And so hearts and prayers for your family as you guys go through this season. And so we're with you. Lastly, looking forward to seeing everyone at the barbecue, 11:30 on St. Patty's Day, 11 to 2:30, that barbecue. So make some time to come out and eat some good food and fellowship with the residents and your neighbors. See some old friends, some new friends, and hopefully make a few while you're there hanging out. But thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I had one more comment,
Yes.
if it's okay. A resident came up to me this week and asked what we are doing. She saw the coconuts being trimmed in Pine Tree Park and wondered what we are doing in terms of, do we have an arborist periodically look at the big shade trees?
We are if you approve that Pine Tree Bridge, we're using those two parks as staging areas. So you don't want to put a lot of resources into something that something's going to be teared up. Trees are going to actually be removed in that area too.
Are you kidding?
Yes.
Those are beautiful specimen
in,
trees.
in that project.
Well, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Cephalaras and things that are.
Just along that bridge.
Invasives.
But with big trucks coming in, things will be damaged. But I am good. Bridget and I are going out next week to look at something because I actually had a discussion with Jen too about there's some exotic problem out there. So I was going to take a look at it again. But
how many trees, how many specimen trees, 15 feet or taller will be removed?
Just a couple.
Because they're wonderful. In fact,
just some oaks near the bridge
that's a shame.
Yeah, because the crane has to have an arm to swing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because a couple of the trees, 2 on each side there have markers like to commemorate.
Right.
It's
one step at a time. Let's see if you approve the project, but that is Pine Tree Park will be totally a staging area, and then Memorial Park it'll be an overflow.
And then the other remark was about the Lake Clark Shore signs, which are a great, introduction to our town. Maybe they could use some periodic power washing.
Yes, that's planned too, and it's right now we have flowers on there. So
the flowers are beautiful, by the way.
So those are annuals. They will die. So then after the annuals will die, we're going to try to clean it up to see if because you don't want to use harsh chemicals or and kill the flowers. Yeah. So and the flowers are dying in the next couple months.
They're beautiful.
So
I noticed them today.
That's planned for the summer to see if we can get the rust stains, the mold, see if we can improve it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Everybody's good? Good. Don't go anywhere. We do have a CRA meeting. Yes. You can come right up. Yes, ma'am. Just give us your name, rank, and serial number.
I'm Kathy Jermakowitz. I've been here since 1972 and I live on.
I went to school with your son, Eddie. Is it your son, Eddie?
That's actually my stepson.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh.
His father was also.
This is recorded.
I'm getting OLD. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the name and address again? I did not get that. I'm sorry.
Kathy Jermakowitz. 1432.
Thank you.
Pull it right down to you. Pull it down to
Pull it
you.
towards you.
There you go.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, my one question, first one was, how long are we going to be without the transportation at Forest Hill with the bridge?
I would say that's an unknown at the moment. Because
No
we were trying to
approximation?
keep one lane open. What did they say? Maybe 6 months?
It saves, I don't want to guess, but they say, and because each contractor will tell you a different thing. So when we meet with this new contractor, who's the lowest bid, we'll get more definitive, but they said it would save like 4 to 6 months. If you, instead of a year, it'll be 6 months.
Okay.
That's just rough
Yeah.
numbers.
Curious, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, but we'll get an update when we actually meet with the new
And,
contractor.
and secondly, I had no clue we were changing out the water meters because when I moved here in 72, I think we had them for, I don't know how many years, and then they changed them to the new method.
Yes.
And with the new method, you can't cut the water off there. You have to cut it off at your house, which is a problem if you have a leak from the meter to the house. Are they going to have so that we can cut them off at the meter?
You're always supposed to have a valve to shut them off at
These
the
do
meter.
not, I have to
Okay.
call you up and have you do it.
You don't have a safety thing on your house that shut off
I
the,
do on my house, but then you
Right.
have a pipe from the meter to my house and it doesn't shut.
it might be a unique case, I don't know. So you can call me tomorrow and we'll look into it, but you're supposed to have a shut off by the meter. Yes,
At the meter.
you're supposed to.
And why are we?
There's always
changing
exceptions to the
meters out
rules.
After we haven't had.
It was a factory defect. It was a factory defect on all of them.
So we're
and
not having to pay for it.
No,
Okay.
nor the labor to put them in. We negotiated them for a long time. We finally got a great negotiation where they're paying for all the meters and all the installation for free, no cost to the town.
And I kind of lied. I have a third thing. I live on the Middle Beta and Pine Tree. And I wrote a letter in and got great response, and they fixed a couple of places. But that just holds water all the time. And now we have holes about this deep. And he said he was going to have to send it out for contractual. And I was just wondering if there's any like set time we might have this done.
Yeah.
I sometimes can't even walk my dog through that. I have to walk the other way.
I think you're on that list, but give me a call again tomorrow and tell me where exactly, because we're getting bids on different parts of the town.
Okay, that's, I just wanted to know where it stood.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Joe, I wanted to add one other thing to your report here for April 20th for the Great American Cleanup. That is the second time that we do it. The initial one for Keep Palm Beach County Beautiful is in September, correct?
It's September, I believe. Yes. There's
Yeah.
two a
Yeah, we
year.
do 2 of them. So,
Yeah.
okay, good.
I think you have a resident.
Pardon me? Oh, come right up. I'm sorry.
It's Michelle Bobrowski, 7501 Pine Tree Lane. That traffic study that we had that told us we didn't have a traffic problem, how much did that cost?
I think it was like 17,000 roughly, somewhere around there.
Okay. And then the second question is, because my neighbor and I were a little curious when we come to these meetings, is I know that we're allowed to ask questions and make comments in the beginning, but when we have questions because of what we're listening to, besides now, when is a good time to, or like, how are we supposed to just stand up and ask a question?
Raise
How
your
does that
hand and I'll
work?
call on you just like we did and I'll let you talk.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
Joe, just to remember, that traffic study was requested by residents who live in several
Yes.
areas. That's why that was done.
100%. And if I may add, Mayor, because we keep saying we don't have a speeding problem. Nobody
We
speeds in
don't
town.
say that, they said that.
No, what he said, and I don't want to act like a traffic engineer, but the traffic engineer says we fit in the norms. 85% of the people traveling on our roads they're speeding everywhere, of course. But 85% of the people who travel on our roads are not speeding. He says that is in compliance on their standards of traffic engineering. Yes, of course, there's going to be some speeders out there, but we don't have a speeding problem. That's what he said.
I beg to differ. I walk my dog. And there's more than 85% of the cars that are going over 30 miles an hour.
It's only 15%.
And a lot of them don't go around me. They literally.
I didn't do the study. That's what he
I'm a
said.
public safety retiree, and I look out for it. So I'm paying attention probably a lot more than most people are. And so I'll pull my dog myself away because I see that they're not even moving out. So not only are they going fast, they're not paying attention. So I totally disagree with that study.
There's another
I
comment.
think there needs to be more speed deterrence on Pine Tree. I think you have somebody that wants to speak.
Mayor.
Well, that study also concluded, and safety will tell you that the more speed tables there are, the more people speed. They have a perception that they've lost time by having to slow down so much. That's what the study says. I'm not an engineer. I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. I'm not an engineer, but I read the entire report and
You're correct. That's what he said.
that's what he said. So, okay. We do have a CRA meeting. Yes. Yes, come on up.
Hi, Jennifer Chanowski, 7130 Pine Tree Lane. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Just on a comment of what Bridget said, because I observe it and we live pretty close proximity. I wonder if people that don't frequent here, like don't live here, that are coming down the street, don't like to get over for share the road because there's a double yellow in the middle. It's just like a thought I've had. So I wonder if we do end up paving parts of the streets, which God willing, I hope we do that sooner than later, because some of the streets are awful. But when we do pave, if maybe your traffic study people or whoever does this thing, what if you had yellow broken lines? Because sometimes I wonder, because I feel like we have a reputation of cops being strict in the area. Like used to be. I don't know, maybe don't. So I think sometimes people aren't giving us space because I've just had the thought before, because of the double yellow and they feel like they shouldn't be crossing, because like all of us, when we see our neighbors walking, we give ample room, 3 feet, 5 feet. But I've seen people before where they're like jockeying in the middle line, like they don't want to cross that double yellow or orange, whatever it is.
Yes.
But it's like common sense would tell you to give that person space because there's no sidewalk. So it's just like a thought I had, maybe it's what is it? Yellow broken line, because those you can always
Yeah.
pass, but pass with caution.
That means you can pass, correct?
Yeah,
Well, I
but
was
I
just
see
gonna
the risk
say,
too. You're not
they have-
supposed to.
They have meanings, the lines on the road and
Yes.
what they have represent.
Pass a car.
Right.
What she's
Oh,
describing,
broken yellow, you're not supposed to pass. I felt like you can pass with
You
caution.
can
but
pass.
what you're describing is correct, Jen.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just a thought. I wanted to just build on that.
Interesting.
I do
Yeah.
think more people that don't live here tend to get very close to walkers and people with dogs, et cetera. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to wind this one down since we are having our barbecue. It's on St. Patty's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Everybody's Irish for one day.
We have beer?
We
We're
talked
not
about that. I don't
Irish.
think we're having it. But
Bring you on.
I'm going to conclude this portion of the meeting with an Irish blessing for everybody. These are not my words, and everyone will probably recognize them. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to move on to the CRA portion of the meeting.
Yes.
It'll be a lightning round. The CRA is alive and well. By the way, the pickleball courts are part of the CRA and was paid for and portioned with that.
Yes.
And is allowed to be done like that. So we'll have a roll call, Mary.
Chair Gregory Freebold,
Here.
Commissioner John Maples,
Here.
Commissioner Bridget Keating,
Present.
Commissioner Taylor Materio,
Here.
Commissioner Christy Masbach.
Here.
Okay. Do we have any audience comments by any chance from anyone regarding the CRA? No? Anything online or anything, ladies, over there?
No.
Okay. So we need an approval for an agenda, so I'll take a motion.
I'll move to make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second,
A second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Approval for consent agenda? Motion,
Motion.
I will second, Mr.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we are going to turn the presentation for the 2022-2023 annual report over to Mr. Lobello, Executive Director.
Thank you, Mayor. And if I could remind everybody that, remember, I always tell you, you are council members always. This is the only time you're not a council member. So you're commissioners right now of the CRA. You're not council members, and I'm the executive director of the CRA. So that's what this agenda is about. It's a requirement that we produce an annual report every year, and we did one. I think it's a pretty nice job. It's from last year's numbers and facts, and so I'll go over it real briefly. But this is a requirement by the Florida statutes to have this done every year. The executive summary basically states that our values are estimated at $35 million. When the CRA was created back in 2016, if you all remember, it was about 25 million. So it's gone up about $10 million. So that's when a CRA starts, you can start doing things, because now we're collecting about $100,000 a year for the CRA. The first few years, we're not collecting any money because it's only the extra money that you get over that frozen property values. So now we're starting to get some money in where you can actually do things. You can do more programs, people hire staff, so they hire consultants. So just letting you know, it's getting some money now. Actually, that 35 million is a little old because it was last year. It's in $39 million now. So it's actually going up. And why they created the CRA back in 2016 was because the property values were stagnant. They were not increasing. So it's doing what it's supposed to do, mainly because of the market, but also because of our programs. So we want quality growth, and that's our mission. It goes over what the CRA is. It's basically the corridor of Forest Hill Boulevard, and all of our parks, which is the Town Hall Park, Memorial Park, Community Park, and that's all in that map. Obviously, the council members were on there last year, and now you're on there this year as commissioners. That's what you're called, commissioners. It also talks about the economic power. So if you have any questions, CRAs can buy property. They can take loans out. They're very powerful in the state of Florida. So, but again, we have now starting to get some money where we can start doing things. Just going over the report, success stories. There's a whole page right here. And if anyone wants one of these booklets, they're right there. If you want to take home,
They're outside too.
they're outside too. These were just printed. As you can see, there's a lot of new businesses or expanded businesses on that page. And we had also 16 building permits for projects. As I've only been here a short time, and I actually do see a little change. So I don't know if you've seen that the last few years that there's more business activity going on in the CRA district. Again, it's not all for business. Our parks are involved in there. We're going to talk about the next agenda item about spending that money on parks. The background, it tells you how many acres it is and approximately what it's made up of. So you can all read that on your own. But and then there's the budget and the meeting dates, and that's basically the report, the requirements of the report. So the main thing I wanted to make sure you knew about was, you can't do anything in the CRA when it's really young, but now it's starting to get money. So you can start thinking about what we can do about it. We're going to talk about that. We had a little discussion about what the chicken or the egg. You guys didn't hear that. I don't know if you want to, we'll talk to you individually, the new members, but do you want to do some master plan of new zoning for the area, or do you wait for developers to come to you and to see what you can do and change that area? So there's many things you can do. There's called layover districts that Charlie's familiar with, where you can actually change just in a little area of the town. The things about our issues with our zoning, business zoning, is that the lot sizes are very small. It's very unusual. So we have to get the word out. I'm starting to meet with the developers, stakeholders, property owners, and talk about, don't think that way. Think about mergers. Think about combining some of these properties to make some quality development. And again, all this development should be enhancing our quality of life. It should not be taking away from our quality of life. The big buzz thing today is workforce housing and density and intensity. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about quality growth that'll enhance your quality of life. So that's our mission. So I'm going to talk to you more about this as the year approaches this year.
Any questions for Mr. LaBelle?
I do have a couple. Joe, I know we're at 39 million, but what is the stagnant value, or
25 million.
25 million?
Yeah, so roughly about
So anything above
24
25
million, 24 and a half million roughly. But
Okay.
just use 25 million.
And then last question, the property that's on Forest Hill,
It's not in there.
it's not in the CRA.
Correct. The town-owned property. I'm answering your question before you asked, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
you are.
Yes.
Okay.
It's, you can see it. It's a little triangle right
Yeah, I
here.
saw it there, but I didn't know if it.
I don't know why they didn't put that in there, but they didn't put it in there.
Because it was a residential property
Oh.
before it was torn down.
Yeah, it was zoned residential first.
Right.
So
There is
now,
a property behind that is
Yeah.
residential,
Mhm.
but it could also be commercial too. It's used as residential right now.
Right.
So
but that was changed to zoning.
Yes.
That was commercial zoning.
So what do we talk, or do we need to maybe have some discussions down the road on that property, or what is the plan? Do we have one yet?
No, we're talking to residents, and obviously I don't want to make that public, but you can ask me privately
What's going on?
what's going on with that.
Okay,
'Cause
so
I am talking developers on that property.
on that property as well.
Yes.
Okay, so no, that's all the question I have. Maybe in the future, we maybe add that. Obviously, it's not in the CRA, so that's not a discussion for this.
No, but it's right there. So yes, we want quality development everywhere.
Right, okay, thank you.
That's my goal.
So Joe, when you talk about improving and developing? Are we talking about tearing down existing buildings and putting up something glitzier?
All the above, yes.
Possible.
All the above. I mean, the problem now, you have, in marketing terms, you have cash cows. Cash cows mean that they're rented. There's not a lot of vacancies out there. They're collecting rent, so they're happy. They're making profit. But they're not looking at the bigger picture of getting a quality project, getting us to the next level, because it's the inventory is getting old. And that's what this said. I don't want to call it blighted, which they called it blighted. I don't.
Well, initially, when the Treasure Coast Planning Organization did this for us, it was
blighted. I don't want to use.
It's improved tremendously.
I don't want to use that word because I don't consider it blighted. I call it old inventory that needs to be refreshed.
He is a politician.
Yeah.
No.
So there isn't a current strategic plan from the past commissioners for the CRA.
There is. I mean, there was some. We did deal with a planner, and they came up with this schematic. That's not what's there. As you can see, the buildings are not exactly aligned to what they are. You can see that one of the beliefs was to push the buildings towards Forest Hill and have the parking in the back. But again, it's the chicken and the egg. Sometimes you overplan and it never really happens. Because you really have to listen to the stakeholders, which is the property owners. You have to listen to the developers, what's marketable, and then also you listen to the stakeholders, which is the property owners, and what they want to do with the property.
For those of us that are new, though, I think it would be good for us to have something, like I can't even read this.
No, we're gonna, that was not the purpose of this meeting. Yes,
Right.
we'll bring this.
If we can get that background information,
Yes,
I think that would
yes.
be really helpful.
We'll send it out to you all.
Thank you.
Sure. I can't read it myself on this page.
I have a question for you, Chief. Greg, talk to us when we think about moving our buildings forward, and that you've seen it across the board in many different locations in the state of Florida, where that's the philosophy. Your buildings are frontage on the street, your parking is hidden. How does that affect the response for fire rescue if you have a parking lot that you have to maneuver or something of that nature? Because I have a feeling somewhere along the line that conversation is going to come up.
And it will. It'll be with our fire marshal in that office. The fire code does identify areas of the roadway that have to remain a certain distance width for fire rescue access.
Okay.
Even access into the parking lot. Once you're in the parking lot, whether it's residential, say in a multifamily setting, or in a commercial, there has to be a certain turning radius for the apparatus. So all that is identified. And as those things go through planning and review, they're caught and identified, which could change a lot of things on, how close you're trying to put everything in there, or the opportunity to have additional parking. Our fire marshal's very good at that.
Okay, good.
The fire marshal doesn't get involved in how many parking spaces you have per dwelling unit, but they get involved in access.
Yes.
And it's a very difficult, they're one of the most difficult parts of the building permit process is getting approval through them sometimes.
Well, you plan your work and you work your plan.
Yeah.
But
the trend is less parking spaces, just so you all know. It's
okay. All right, everybody's good?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we will move into new business, and we need an approval for the 2022-2023 annual report. We'll have a motion.
I'll move to make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Okay, now we will move to the discussion for lights at Community Park. Joe?
Of course, I said we have money, so now I want to spend it, right? When you look at this town hall park, you see that the parking lot's lit. It's got parking lighting in our parking. Our basketball courts are lit all the time. So there's lighting here. There's no lighting in our community park. And now we have a lot of visitors with pickleball at nighttime, especially in the summertime when the sunset is at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock. So we believe we need to propose putting lighting in that park. We don't need to do it immediately because we just had the change in time. We'll have later sunsets, 8 or 9 o'clock. So we'd like to plan for it and go out to bid for it in the summer and then go back to you for approval on this sometime in maybe August or September, so we can start on October 1st, so we can get it ready for daylight savings when it ends in November. So
Are you suggesting just lighting the parking lot? Or are you going to light the playground and the grassy area?
That's my next
behind?
part. But thank you for leading me into that. So the question is, and we can do both. You can go out for RFPs or bids and have an alternate. So we can go out. We believe we got some estimates. Just getting 2 lights in the parking lot only is about $25,000. If you want to get the 7 lights and light up pretty much the north part of the park, which is mainly all the activities, not lighting up the back where it's open fields, you don't really want to do that at night. It's roughly about $60,000. So this will give our residents and our guests a sense of security. It also will open up the park for those winter months to have more activity when it's beautiful at night. When it's right now, it's, last few months it's been beautiful. Wouldn't you want to have a lit park out there? So we're recommending the 7 lights or whatever it comes out. We'll do a design build RFP, which means the contract, we say light the park up and they tell us how they want to light it up. And then we give you the results of that bid. So we can do both. We can do an alternate, say, give us prices on both. But the chief and I are pretty much recommending lighting up the whole north part of the park. And if you look at thank you, Emily. If you look at the screen, you see lighting is very controversial. That people do complain about lighting too much, too little. So there really shouldn't be that many complaints because you have a church on the left-hand side, which is on the west. On the east side, you have commercial, office space. So the residents are there on the north, pretty far from the parking lot. So we have lighting here much closer to residential properties than that site plan. So I don't see a lot of problems with the residents complaining about the lighting. I haven't got a complaint about the pickleball because pickleball noise, everybody complains about that, and I haven't got one complaint from those residents yet about any of the park activities.
How often is this park used at night?
A lot.
A lot more now than pickleball.
The kids are playing basketball there at night a lot.
And the
And
lights
that's
just
great.
stay on all night long, or do they have to operate them?
9 o'clock.
They're on all night. It's it's the tennis that has a switch, just like pickleball, we have a switch, but the tennis is supposed to be on all night. I'm sorry, the basketball is supposed to be
Oh,
on.
I was gonna say they're definitely not. If
The
they're
basketball.
supposed to be, but
The basketball.
the basketball.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke, the basketball. And I put those lights around, staff put those lights around the pavilion to get a little bit more light there, those string of lights.
Now we're gonna look at, we talked about having down lighting versus.
100%, not acorn lighting. I like directional lighting where you need to, very good comment, Bridget, yes. Acorn lighting just wastes light and it's like pollution of light. You don't want that. You want to have it focused where you need the light, in my opinion. So just looking for consensus. Do you like the idea? Would you like the plan of us going out to bid in the summer? It's going to come back to you all as commissioners at the CRA meeting late summer, and we'll budget for it in October and do this project.
I concur. I would obviously do options, but I'm all for lighting the whole park.
Me too.
But it's a bit like saying, would you like a lollipop? Everybody says yes until you realize that means you don't get the chocolate cake. So what are the other possible?
Wait, we get chocolate cake.
Yeah. What are the
Sunday.
What are the other possible uses for that money?
That's a whole CRA meeting, but programs, it's CRA money. So it can go for any park activity. The parks are in there, or any business programs, or it has to be done, has to be used for those kind of activities.
Can promote the CRA.
Like I said, you can hire staff. Like I said, you're starting to get money. But I believe it's such an important part of the community to enhance your parks. That is a business activity that promotes good business, good residential development. So parks are very important, in my opinion.
We actually had some residents come to the pickleball ribbon cutting, and they weren't even from, like, they were there, but they had rented a house, and so they came to the park to meet everyone, and they were in town from like New York or something, and they just raved about the park. And then we kind of talked about the lighting, and she's like, that is amazing, because we want to walk this thing, but it gets so dark and we're not able to see. And we want to buy a house in this neighborhood, and this pickleball court just sold us. So it really does bring a lot of great people to the community, and it really is a big add. And so to your point though, Joe, will there be some money left over for maybe once the bridge is done and there's some trees being removed, being able to maybe use that CRA to go back and maybe do some nice planting or some shrubbery and bushes and different things to kind of revise that?
Yeah.
In the budget for that?
Yes, capital, and remember, it's capital improvement, so it can't be for maintenance or cutting trees or general maintenance items. It has to be capital improvements, but landscaping is capital improvements. Sometimes I have to ask Charlie but just so you know, we did make a ruling on the tennis courts and the improvements of that can be used for CRA improvements, because it increased the lifespan of the property. That I don't know if that the fencing needed to be replaced. If you remember, it's all rusting, and right now it's all painted. Came out great. The project came out great. So that was used for, that project was officially okay to be used for CRA funding. Sorry to go on long.
No, it's okay. We're here to talk. This is where we talk.
Yeah.
From my personal standpoint, I mean, I have been, shooed away from the park with other parents because it's getting dark, and we just got there after, picking my kid up. So personally, I would love to see this happen. But on the other side of that, I think it's also like safety should be priority number one for our residents. And if Chief Smith is saying this also will improve our public safety in the parks, then it should be a priority for the usage of those funds.
Thank you. I agree.
Okay.
I think I got enough direction. I appreciate it.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to commissioner comments. Chrissy, we'll start with you.
I've got nothing to add.
Good.
I'm good.
Taylor?
Just excited to see the backup information. So thank you for your time on the report too. It's good to see it all laid out.
Thank you.
Bridget?
We had a conversation today about this, and I'm excited about all the possibilities that we can use for this improvement. And this is just a start. We also have talked about lighting elsewhere, and that's down the road. So this is just a small component of where I think the direction of the town and Joe wants to go with improving public safety and the lighting on all the neighborhood streets. And obviously you got to put your priority. You got the bridge and you got other things, the septic sewer line. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I'm excited to see what all Joe's ideas and what he brings to the table.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, I do want to say thank you to the previous council for all the hard work they did to get the CRA set
Yes.
up. There was a
Absolutely.
lot of political muscle used on that. And then Joe, thank you to you and your team for your commitment to excellence and making everything look a lot better. It's going to take some time, but I believe we're going to move it in the right direction, move the needle. So I'm excited about it.
Thank you.
As long as the dollars keep going up, we're going in the right direction. That's what makes the world go round. So is there hours of operation in all of the parks within the town of Lake Clark Shores?
It's dusk.
Because there are a lot of other security issues
It is.
regarding some of the people that are around are, on the outskirts of our place here. Yes, I'm sorry, but it's true. We need to be aware of that.
That's exactly my concern.
Yes.
It's per our code, it's dusk to dawn.
Okay.
But unless
That's enforceable?
it's enforceable,
Okay.
but it has an exception. It says unless posted, otherwise posted. And I believe that means I can post it because it says otherwise posted. So I posted until 9 p.m. for pickleball. So if I post it, it can be, right.
It can go beyond dusk.
Right.
Why the lighting is more important.
And how about the same with the tennis courts?
We never posted it, but it is used at night. So we'll have to look
Well,
at
in the
that.
summertime, it's just, a lot. It's still hot, but it's a lot cooler than it is in the daytime.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be a tendency to want to go out there when, the lights or the sun goes down.
Yeah. That was new to me, that provision there, but I'd like to look at making it lighter, longer hours for basketball and tennis, because it's the same 9 to p.m.
Sure.
If you guys feel the same, the kids should be outdoors and doing things, and adults be outdoors, not inside playing video games.
Joe, I noticed that there's a gate on that
On the tennis?
east fence there, like to the commercial buildings.
Yes.
And it was open when I was there today, but I know that there's a clinic of some sort in there. Does that crowd come into the park?
We're a community park, and yes, it's always open, that gate. And yes, they do use it. Actually, at the ribbon cutting, there was a whole group of people that went through that gate and used the park that night.
Does that present a safety issue for us, that gate?
No, the park's there to be used. It's just needs to be lit.
Well, I mean, yes.
It's dark. I mean, I was there at night.
I'm talking
It's
about
dark.
the drug clinic there. It's over there.
That's a methadone.
Well,
clinic.
we're,
Rehab.
yeah.
And there's a school going in there in that same area, but we have not had any issues lately. We had issues with people using the restrooms during the day for sex, but we haven't had any.
Not what I.
That's why we lock them at night. But we haven't had any issues. The officers patrol it. We get out and walk. Sometimes you'll get some homeless people come in and we'll ask them to leave.
Chief, tell us how many cameras we have throughout town. Do you have a number? Do you know a number?
I have
I
seven.
think at one time.
I have
over
7
30.
tag reading cameras, and I talked with Joe, and Joe is very familiar, especially where he comes from, on putting cameras in some of the parks. It would actually protect the town, and it will protect an individual if something happened, you get hurt and it's on camera. So we've talked about that for security purpose, but that's something down the road that we talked about. But we have not had any issues that I can recall in the last 6 months, 7 months there. So.
Well, refresh my memory on this one here too, and this just goes for a safety issue. Isn't this parking lot designated for child drop-offs for families that are having issues and because of our cameras and our systems that we use? And it's still designated.
We help everybody.
Yes.
We do have people use it to child custody issues.
Sure.
Because it's video. And actually, we've been so busy, but we just finished redoing and evaluating our whole camera system and updating it here. So that's something that the manager has been working on with me. And we have a company, and we're just gonna, after we get all this done this week, and then we'll be looking at that for the future to update all the camera systems. But sometimes it's used every evening. Sometimes people sell stuff on Amazon or whatever, and then they meet at a public safety because it's safer. But most of it's child custody exchanges.
Good.
And that's all videotaped.
So
And
cameras-
a lot of times the people call us and we'll have a police officer meet them in the parking lot.
Cameras from a safety perspective, we can use funds from the CRA for that, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
It's a capital improvement.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Because that never hurts.
Yeah.
A picture is worth 1,000 words. Just ask a cameraman. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we're doing that.
Yes.
We have actually bids out for, that we've accepted already for the police department, for this facility, for the town hall park. Then we're going to look at other areas in town. So we're slowly changing the infrastructure to bring it all up to date.
Okay. Has everybody had an opportunity to have a comment that they're good to go with?
Absolutely.
Okay, there's one last thing I wanted to add into the barbecue before we adjourn this. Children's movie night underneath the tent. That was started a long time ago. It's a big event. If you have children, bring them out. It's a good community builder. The staff does a marvelous job taking care of the kids. I know the kids really look forward to it. So that's on.
We had a lot of
It's on
adults.
Friday.
We had a lot of
Friday,
adults
right?
last year too. So
Yeah.
if you're an adult, you can come too. It's
Yeah.
not a bad event.
Yeah, it's a good family community builder.
Yes.
Right, Friday night, correct?
Friday night, 7:30.
Friday night, okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
So moved. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
For coming.